This is the first time I've seen one of these in the flesh. It's a M80 astrographic camera. So this came off the 135. It's designed to ride on top of the cradle, which holds the OTA. It's a really nice neck. The optics, I think they're a cemented doublet, and you can see they've got this nice anti-reflective coating on. The whole thing is remarkably well preserved. I will do a little bit of restoration on it. One of the previous owners had a naval background, and he decided he was going to paint this grey colour. I think the OTA might have been painted grey as well. So I'm going to try and take this back, leaving the white paint underneath. Hopefully this will have the same sort of tenacity as the white paint on the dew shield. So I just rub it back with a bit of wet and dry, and then paint it the same with the same paint as the OTA has got on it. The image this produces is surprisingly good. I set it up with a piece of oiled paper instead of film in the back. I've got it pointed to the tree line over there in the distance. As you come around, I'll try and get this to focus so you can see just how nice the image is. So yeah, it's beautifully detailed. I think with a sheet of Polaroid film in the back, or maybe X-ray film, this will do really well on deep sky. Obviously, the Polaroid is going to give me a color image. I think that the self-processing is going to be a boon there as well. The X-ray film, I'll have to get hold of a darkroom to process. That's probably no big deal. I think this is going to be a really interesting little tool to use to look at some of the dimmer deep sky objects around here. I've unscrewed the lens assembly just here. What I want to do is to take the body of the barrel off so that I can rub it back and spray paint it without having to mask everything off. I was hoping that this would just unscrew from the camera body, but in actual fact there's a lip that keeps it captured inside here. Instead, what I'm going to have to do is remove these screws here and take this wooden panel off, and then slip everything forward, I think. Well, that wasn't quite what I expected. So it turns out that there's actually a second lip on the metal back here. So I'm going to have to unscrew this metal back somehow. I suspect that these are keepers in here, and I'll be able to shift that forward. We'll find out. It kind of makes sense that the shutter wouldn't be the thing keeping it attached, as it's wood, and over time that would probably take a bit of a pounding. More adventures. Those little plaques were indeed keepers, so they have short projections, which I guess engage a lip on the other side of the camera body. So one of the previous owners has marked which, or put a number up here. So I'm just going to keep track of which plaque goes which. So this is number 1. I'll just put a 1 here, so I can make sure that I can get the orientation right. Because I suspect that will probably be important for getting the tolerances when it's put back together again. So it's beautifully engineered, and I want to make sure that I don't brick it taking it apart. So that's off now, and I hope I'll just be able to slip this off the body of the camera now, and give it a bit of a clean off. It's kind of useful to get this out as well, because there are a couple of scuffs here that I want to spray with a bit of satin black. Amazing piece of engineering, it really is. I really like it. So I got it all disassembled now. The grease on here has got a little bit old and a little bit too grippy for my liking. So I think I'll give this a good clean with some solvent, and get all the old grease out of there. You can see here how the whole thing fits together. So this screw section screws into the body of the camera, and this provides additional focus with the screw section at the front of, or at the back of the lens assembly. So this will be a lot easier to clean off and spray now. So hopefully this grey paint will come off with a little bit of paint stripper, and it'll leave the white paint intact underneath. The best laid plans of mice and men. So it almost worked, and unfortunately, in the end, the paint underneath the grey paint just lost its cohesion, and I decided to take it back. The under treatment is still in one piece. There's one bit where it came off. You can just see at the bottom here, so I'll put a little bit more edge primer on there just to seal it up. So otherwise it came up okay. Nowhere near as difficult to strip back as the Dew Shield, and I'll put a little bit of primer on it and then some spray putty before I spray it white. Here it is with a couple of coats of primer surfacer and some spray putty on. Ironically, it's almost exactly the same shade of grey as that grey paint that the previous owner put on. Obviously, this is going to be overcoated with white enamel, but it came out quite nicely. It is quite easy to spray primer surfacer and spray putty, but I'm happy with that. There aren't any sags on that or anything like that, so that's pretty nice. So hopefully it'll take the enamel well, and we'll end up with something that looks, if not as good as the previous finish, and something that will at least do justice to this really interesting instrument. This is the body of the Astrograph, and its Dew Shield after spraying and clear coating. I seem to have avoided the worst of the orange peel from the clear coat this time. I think that's because I let the can warm up for a fair old while before I was using. I'm pretty happy with this. There are a couple of nibs which I'll take off, and a few high spots on the body of the Astrograph, but I think I'll call that job done on that. I'll leave it, as I said, I'll leave it for a few weeks before I assemble everything again, re-grease it. I think that should look quite nice. I've got the back of the Astrograph here, and a couple of things I want to do to it. First of all, I want to get rid of this nasty kind of varnishy grease on the inside, as it's stopping it rotating smoothly on the body of the Astrograph. The other thing I want to do as well is to get rid of some of the sticky tape residue that's on the side as well. So this was where a previous owner had very usefully actually labelled which keeper belonged in which position, because the tolerances on these guys are actually very tight. So I want to remove these labels, and I want to get rid of this nasty sticky residue as well. So I've got some dewaxer and degreaser and some sugar soap. We'll see how we go. That's come up really nicely. I got rid of all that residue, gave it a good wash and a bit of a polish up. I'll give it some Fleet Wax now that I'm ready to reassemble everything. That's actually the last thing I needed to do on the Astrograph. I can put it all back together again. Whilst I've got this out, I'll just explain why we have these keepers and this groove at the back. It's so that you can rotate the frame holder in relationship to the scope and the Astrograph. That way you can choose the orientation of the frame in respect to the object that you're trying to have a look at. So it's a really clever piece of machinery. Okay, it can all go back together again now. Here it is, all finished off now. I've just done a little bit of a focusing experiment like the one I showed you at the start of the restoration, and it focuses fine. The movement is much freer now. I got rid of all that horrible gunky old grease in the focuser grooves. I've given a polish up in addition to repainting the body and the Dew Shield. I've given it a polish up and waxed everything. So it's a really beautiful piece of equipment. I really like the look of it. I really like the function, the flatness of the feel that's produced, the clarity and the fine detail that you can see in it. I gave the cabinet a bit of a going over with beeswax as well, just so that that would have a chance to show the grain a little bit. It's like all the Unitron cabinets. It's nicely made, fits really well. Okay, I think the next acid test of this will be actually to take some pictures with it. And as we've got rain forecast for the next 3 or 4 days, it's not going to be any time soon. Anyhow, that's the Astrograph M80 done.